Alrighty, hello again everybody. If it's your first time with us today, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. We're continuing today our series on everything Endgame, going through king and pawn endings, and a very important topic today, and this is going to answer that question: how do you know if the king can stop the pawn, right? So we're talking about a concept that's known as the square of the pawn today. And what is the square of the pawn? Well, let's head over to our chessboard and check out just what's going on. We'll notice that in this position, black is getting ready to make a queen. We've got the white king over here on b4. Black is running this pawn up the board and is only 4 squares away from making a queen. So can we stop that pawn? How do we know whether or not we're going to be in time to catch the pawn or not? Well, of course we can always count things out, right? So we could say, yes, if it's white to move, I might be able to play here, he would play here, that's 1. I would play here, he would play here, that's 2. I would play here, he would play over here. Oh, maybe I'm not going to get it. Is that working out just right? I'm not entirely sure. Is he queening? Am I catching him? Wait, I can still take that square, and it gets a little bit complicated when we go move by move in our head sometimes to figure it out. Did I get there? Did I not? Well, here's a very easy and simple way to look at it. Now, what you can do is you can look at this pawn and check out the squares in front of him. So you've got 1, 2, 3 squares until that pawn becomes a queen. Now, you're going to take those same 3 squares and draw them out to the side of the pawn like this. 1, 2, 3. And you'll notice that what we're doing here is we're making a square. We're making a rectangle. And now all of these squares can be highlighted. And the rule is very simple. If it's white's turn and you can step into the square to any one of these, then you're going to be in time to stop the pawn. Well, let's check it out, see if it works. So let's say that we play king c3, the pawn pushes up, king to d2, the pawn pushes up, king e2, black can make a queen, but we're still just in time to catch it. Now, what happens if it were black to move first in that position? Well, if black moves first, now the pawn comes here, and we'll notice the square is a lot smaller, only 2 squares, and when we draw that out, here's where we would have to go in order to stop the pawn. And can our king make it inside the square? No, our king cannot make it back. That means black is going to be able to run up the board, make a queen, and there's no way for us to stop it. So, now let's look at one more scenario before we wrap it up here. So our kings are both over here on the corners of the board, very far away, and we're getting ready to try to make a queen for white, but it's black's turn. So let's say it's black to move here. Can black stop this pawn? Well, the one thing that's different, and this is the only time where there's a little bit of a unique exception to our square rule, is if the pawn is on its starting square. And why is that? Well, of course, when it's the pawn's first move, they have the option of moving not only 1 square, but 2. So this means that pawns on their starting square must always be treated as if they're 1 square forward. We cannot count this pawn as being on the second square because he's going to get to make 2 moves forward. So the black king actually has to be inside the square starting on h3, because imagine, for example, that white's pawn were on h3 right now. Well, then he would have to move only 1 square forward on his next move, and that would be the exact same as if he is on h2 right now. Of course, we're going to want to go 2 squares forward on our first move if we're racing to get that queen. So in this situation, we have to actually draw the square 1 square ahead of the pawn if it's on the starting square. So we're imagining this square here for it starting. We've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to draw it out from that initial corner. We'll give it in a little different color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is now the square the black king has to be in if we're going to stop the white pawn. So can black do it? No, black is going to run over, and because we get to go 2 squares up, unfortunately, this king will not make it, or fortunately for us for white, we are too fast. Happy days, we make the queen and win the game. That's how you use the square of the pawn to figure out whether or not you're going to be able to promote first, whether or not you can stop your opponent. Hopefully this helps as a nice shortcut so you don't have to sit there and think every move out in your head. It makes things much, much simpler. Best of luck to you. Can't wait to see you guys putting this to action in your games to come. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, post any comments, and share via the buttons below. Check out our website at chesswithnick.com for further video, more content, and any postings on lessons, further video analysis, or written analysis that you may be interested in. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel, Chess with Nick, on youtube.com. Have a great day, and wishing you best of luck.